Hey there guys, welcome back to the Play School. It's me Phil, back with you for another piano tutorial. So today's song is Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond. It was released in 1969, but over the course of the past decade, maybe 15 years, because of certain cultural events, it's taken on really a new lease of life. And now you'll hear it at football events or sporting events and celebrations all over the world. Now, this is a great track. It's in a slightly awkward key, being in B, but the good news is that once we've kind of got our feel for that B major key signature, the toughest bit is the intro, and then it's plain sailing. So as usual, I'm going to take you through all the chords, all the rhythms and the structure, and then at the end, I'm going to give you a couple of extra little touches to make it really awesome. So let's go. So I'm going to deal with the intro in the extra jazz at the end, because as I said, it's by far the most complicated part. So we're just going to start with the verse. Now, like I said, this is in B. That's B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, and B. So we've got this same pattern, white, black, black, white, black, black. And then, as I always say, that last step is always just a half step. Only two white notes and all the black notes. Okay, now this makes it, like I say, sometimes these chords can feel a little awkward to play. I would go with B major, which we're going to use right at the beginning here, with your first three fingers. You know, starting to get your pinky up there is a bit awkward. So let's go B, D sharp, F sharp. We skipped C sharp and we skipped E to give us a B major chord. And there we are. And with that, as ever, we will put a B in the bass, and then just that solid 4 beats in a measure, and we're just right at the beginning, we're just going to hit all of those beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now our three chords for the verse are B, E, and F sharp. That's B, 1, 2, 3, E, 4, and F sharp, 5. Right, now the great thing about this is that those chords are usually, they're always really easy to get between if you stay within the same key. And I'll show you what I mean. From our B, it's because they all share notes and that we can arrange them in a certain way. So we're going to go from B here. Now to get to our E chord, all we're going to do is keep the B, because we want E, skip F sharp, play G sharp, skip A sharp, play B, to give you an E chord, right? We want E, G sharp, and B. Now we've already got a B with our thumb, and all we're going to do is expand away from that thumb to pick up our E and our G sharp. Yeah, so instead of playing the B up here, we've played it down here. So that gives us B to E, and then we're going to go back to B, and then we go to our 5 chord, which is our F sharp. Let's work that one out. So we've got F sharp, skip G sharp, play A sharp, skip B, play C sharp. There's your F sharp chord. A quite ugly looking chord. Another one that ordinarily I pick up with my first 3 fingers here. We are here. B, D sharp, F sharp. So we're actually going to expand the other way. We're going to do the exact opposite move to what we just did to get from B to E. We're going to go B to there, and then we're going to keep our F sharp and pick up the A sharp and the C sharp there. So we've got, there's your B to F sharp. And those changes are all we need for the verse. We're going to go B, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, B, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And all the time, our left hand, actually, I've played a beat on a note on the changes there, but I think really to capture this, we want, yeah, all the way through. That's gonna sound like where it began, I can't begin to know it, but then I know it's growing strong. In the spring, the spring became the summer. Who'd have believed you'd come along? those are your verses, simple as that. Okay, so now I'm going to go into the pre-chorus, which is the all of that stuff. And we're going to start with our B chord, which we'll get to naturally back to our sharp, right? It's where we finished the verse. Now, for this, our next chord is going to be a B6 chord. Now, for sixes, and indeed every number actually except 7, we can just count up the scale. B, C sharp, D sharp, 4, E, 5, F sharp, 6, G sharp. And we're going to add that to the chord. So there's your B6 chord. Now, the 5 note in a chord is often an optional note. It doesn't affect the chords like actual structure or tonality. It's just about whether or not we want to hear it. So have a listen to this. Touching hands. And actually I think it sounds better without the F sharp. Okay, so I would encourage you to simply swap the F sharp for a G sharp. We want an F sharp chord, F sharp 7 actually. Let's deal with the F sharp first. We're here. Now, because we've skipped the F sharp here, we're actually playing a G sharp minor chord here, right? Which means it has no shared notes with F sharp. And what the feeling I want to get here is that we are building upwards towards the climax of the chorus, right? So let's just find our F sharp, kind of moving our hand position higher. So let's do this one, F sharp, A sharp, and C sharp. Okay, there is your F sharp chord. Obviously this is going to go with an F sharp. And I'm going to add our 7 in. Now, we have a hack for finding 7s, as many of you will know, which is where we take the root note, wherever it is in the chord. In this case, we're in the middle. And we're going to drop it 2 half steps. Just like that, and which gives us F sharp 7. Now again, because we're playing F sharp down here, this F sharp is another note that is kind of optional. In this instance, because we are trying to build up and also because it's right there, I'm going to play it, okay? So, B6, F sharp 7, and then we need an E. So let's think, right, we're still trying to move upwards, and actually this makes it very convenient because our E, we'll put the B at the top, so we've got this at the top, and we can play our E in a root position, evenly spaced root position chord. And then our last chord is the 5 chord again, that's F sharp. Now these are adjacent chords, they don't share any notes. And ordinarily, I would advise not just stepping up from like a root position chord to the adjacent root position chord. I think it sounds a little kind of basic and kind of clunky. But we're going to sacrifice that ideology to keep that ascending top note. Okay, so we're going to go from E, G sharp, B, to F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, and that will take us into the chorus. So let's give it a go. So we've gone like into the pre. Touching hands. See how I've doubled the bass note there to start the build up, depress the sustain pedal to make it sound a little bit more free than it did before. Reaching out, touching me, touching me. And there we are into the chorus. Right, so our chorus. We finished up here. Now, we'll talk a little bit about bass lines and leading through in a minute, but when you come into the chorus, I actually want you to pick up your B right back down here. Sweet Caroline. Okay, and that is B in the middle, D sharp at the top, and an F sharp at the bottom. And then we've got our E. We're actually going to play E for 3 full measures here. This is where the hook, that bit, that's where that happens, which I'm going to tell you about right now. We're going to go B. Now, because we're going from the 1 to the 4 again, and this means they share that root note, and in this case, because here we stretched away, from here we're going to pivot around the B. We're going to keep the B in the middle and rotate the rest of your hands, because this note and this note are both travelling north, right? So we go B flat, sorry B, we go from F sharp, B, D sharp to G sharp, B, E. And that gives you Sweet Caroline. Now, I'll drop this in straight away. It's normally the kind of thing I would add in at the end, but it's so essential to this track that it feels like that's cheating. So, Sweet Caroline. And what you want, if we're going to play this with one note, you're going to play an E and a D sharp, and then down to the G sharp where your thumb is. Yeah, Sweet Caroline. And that quite conveniently will keep you on the E chord. So it's E, D sharp, G sharp. If I was you, I would try and play it as an octave. When you finish that octave, even if you get up here, right, your thumb is still on that G sharp that you need. The times never seem so. Yeah, seems like you're gonna be in the right position. Even after you've done all this jazz, you can still just use that thumb as your anchor to stay on your E chord. The times never seem so good. And here, let's go down to F sharp in root position, because this would be stepping up, and then if we go down to here, that's going to be very nice for us to go to the second half of the chorus by getting from our 5 chord back to our 1 using this reaching away maneuver again. F sharp stays there, B and D sharp, so we're back to where we started. All right. Now, I still want to encourage you to thump out those quarter notes, but you'll have noticed probably while I was playing there that this pattern has crept in again. I use this pattern pretty much every song, and it just goes both right, left, right, left, right, left, both right, left, right, left, both. Yeah. Now, how you organise the both with your left hand, you can do like 3 parts. Thumb as kind of like doing the alternating pattern with the right hand, or you can play these simultaneously. Yeah, so that's up to you, and that just adds in. It's just a little bit. There's like a kick drum, Sweet Caroline, boom, and it just gives it you an extra little bit of fluidity compared to the very rigid, you know, bit of contrast. So that section I've just played goes around twice. So that would be Sweet Caroline. I don't know which octave I'm singing in. Sweet Caroline. The times never seem so good. And same again, I'd be inclined to believe they never would. Now, I've got some chords here which we're going to encounter when we do the intro at the end. We're going to go F sharp, and then we're going to go to E, which was there, we just came from E. Then we're going to go to D sharp minor. Let's take this one up here. Okay, so we're just kind of, again, no adjacent, it's a completely adjacent chord by a semitone, no shared notes. For D sharp minor, we want D sharp, D sharp and F sharp and A sharp. Very difficult not to think of that as E flat minor, but technically in the key signature, it's D sharp minor. So there's your D sharp minor, and then we want a C sharp minor, which again, let's just step down, because that's the feeling we're trying to get here, right? So we've gone. And that takes us all the way. So once again, F sharp, E, D sharp minor, C sharp minor, C sharp, E, and G sharp. Okay, and that will lead you back into your verse. Let's do that whole chorus. So let's go from touching me, touching you, sweet Caroline, the time never seems so good. For that last bit, but there is the pattern. Right, so the structure for this piece, not particularly difficult. We've got our intro, verse, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, exactly as you'd expect. Then we have this instrumental, which is the same as the intro, which we're going to cover in a minute. And then you've got like a chorus which repeats to fade. You finish with... goes round and round and round. Now it fades out, which can't be done in real life. Maybe I'd to... I'll be tempted to do this. You know, there's and we've got to end on a B, and that's as good a way as any. Okay, so into the intro. This is kind of, we're going to start with an F sharp 5 chord in our left hand, okay? And so chord, we were talking about earlier, the 5 being an optional note. In a 5 chord, it's absolutely not an optional note. Reason it's called a 5 is because it has no third in it, no middle note, right? And that means it gives it like, it's not major or minor. And on the guitar, which is where this song starts, they're quite commonly used, they're called power chords, they're quite commonly used to play low chords that sound very rhythmic without it getting too congested harmonically. So that's why they exist. We're going to play them like this, right? Right? Now our melody. I'm going to tell you the notes, C sharp, D sharp and E. And that's why I've listed it as F sharp 7 at the beginning, because we haven't got that, but it's still in the area of F sharp 7, the E being 7. So we're going to go. And the next thing we need to do is we're going to do this exact thing again, but we're going to add. Right. Now we need to do it with. I'm doing 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 2 and 4, and then back down the same way. Yeah? So your thumb is kind of doing a bit of extra work to move, and we're keeping it smooth because our top melody is actually being played like with 3 separate fingers. And the top one's always the one that's more kind of prominent. So we can cope with the little drum there because it's being covered. I'm playing that nice and smoothly, okay? So that is section number 2. Section 3, we're going to add there. Now we're stacking our harmony in thirds here. But where we've ended up is we've now got a C sharp minor chord over F sharp. We've got an E flat, D sharp minor chord, Okay, so that goes there. Well, again, we're still playing this and this, but we've just added, yeah, so that's going to go. And we don't play the whole phrase the third time, right? So that gives you C sharp minor over F sharp, D sharp minor over F sharp, D sharp, F sharp, A sharp, and then an E over C sharp, A over F sharp, sorry. So we just do that twice, right? That's those two, right? Then we have an F sharp 7. Okay, so we're not actually going to play that 5 note. We've got it there. Don't need it. We're just going to drop, we're going to keep our E with the thumb, and we're going to drop these 2 notes down to the F sharp and the A sharp that we need to make our F sharp 7. Now the biggest stretch of all here is this chord. Okay, that is an E major 7 chord. E, G sharp, B in root position, and then a major 7 is just a half step from the top, half step from the root note. We're going to play it all the way up there because that's where the melody lies, right? Where were we? Lastly, F sharp 7, that's the 5-7 chord. Again, we're going to keep this E here and put, think about it like this, put a root position F sharp chord over your E. Yeah? A lot going on in there. Let's take it through one step at a time. Basic melody. Thirds harmony. Try that again. Okay, now we're into our chords. C sharp minor, D sharp minor, E, all over this F chugging bass. F sharp 7, E major 7, F sharp 7. Okay, and that's your intro. Now, a lot going on there. Feel free to take that back, have another look. But now I'm going to finish with one more thing. There's this bass line. I think with jazz, apart from the intro, we're not doing much chord-wise, right? So let's jazz up our bass line a little bit. I'll give you 2 things. First of all, let's say, touching hands, reaching out, touching. Okay, so that was we're from our 5 chord, F sharp, right? And actually there are 2 very common bass figures which will get from the 5 to the 1. First one, not what I'm hearing in here. This one goes up, it's less notes. Now, if you remember that scale that I showed you at the beginning, that's the technical way of learning this. But we can just think it's just those 3 black notes. Okay, that run up there just brings everybody together for the chorus. You do it both times in the chorus, you do it every time you play the chorus. And the second thing, now, I will talk to you in numbers again for a minute because we've talked a lot about 1, 4s and 5s in this piece. And these are really useful concepts to try and kind of gradually bring into your playing, because the reason we use numbers to describe them is because they are transposable across all keys. This technique for getting from 4 to 5 to 1, it's going to work in whatever key as long as you've got the scale and the right notes, right? So you've got the right notes. So we are going to take our 5 bass line. I'm kind of hearing this. That is a very simple 1 to 5 bass line, because we're starting on the B and we're going to an F sharp. Now Now again, we're going down and back up. B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be up there, right? But we can use the one below, and it's just probably slightly more common for this style of bass line. A sweet Caroline. Good times never felt so good. There's Sweet Caroline in 20 minutes. If you want to know anything more about that, hit me up in the comments. Stay tuned for more videos. See you next time.